You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now.
Welcome to episode 33 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Frick. I'm the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering schools across Northeast Indiana and Elkhart County. No, you do not need to adjust your television screens or your phones. Indiana Pacers, yes, for this special occasion. Thought it'd be nice and appropriate to wear this Pacers jersey to commemorate the Indiana Pacers clinching their first trip to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000, and only the second time since the ABA-NBA merger in 1976, as the Indiana Pacers look to hoist their fourth ever professional basketball championship and the first since the good old year of 1973. Yes, that's before Market Square Arena was completed, as the Indiana Pacers defeated the Kentucky Colonels of the ABA in 7 games to win the ABA championship for the third time, to which the Pacers have been around since 1967. And right now in the state of Indiana, it's booming right now in terms of professional basketball with the Pacers and the Indiana Fever. I know the Fever are going off to a little bit of a skid right now, not doing so hot in recent games with injuries and losing close games and whatnot. I know there's a lot of panic from the Fever fan base, but I think the Fever will do just fine once they get over this stretch of losses and injuries. I think they'll do fine. Remember, their only championship in 2012. That year they started the season 1-7 before ultimately making the playoffs and winning the championship against, you betcha, the Minnesota Lynx. I believe Maya Moore was still playing for the Lynx, I believe, at that time. At least Simone Augustus was there. I don't remember if Maya Moore was playing for the Lynx by that point, but definitely Simone Augustus was still there back then for the Minnesota Lynx. A great program, a great organization, as Cheryl Reeve has been there for forever now for the Lynx, over 15 some years for the Lynx. And they were a team that just made it to the finals last year, 1 win away from the WNBA championship, where the Liberty won that 5th and decisive game in overtime. Obviously, now it's going to be expanded playoffs, longer season, 44 games, and then now you have the 7-game WNBA finals for the very first time, which shows you the growth of women's basketball. But that's not why we're here for this ANEC Sports Podcast, is we got some things to recap. And for the talk around the corner, we're going to go ahead and recap what took place this past week with track and field, baseball, and softball. As softball completed their sectional tournaments, track and field completed their regionals, and lastly, you have the baseball teams completing the majority of their sectional games, although sectionals will be completed Monday. So unfortunately, we will not know our baseball sectional champions at the time of this post. But hopefully, maybe I'll do a small little video to kind of recap the baseball sectionals and then looking ahead to regionals, because, again, not a lot of time between now and next week so to look at regionals. So we'll go ahead and maybe we'll do type of bonus coverage for baseball, because of the way the schedule works. It's a little bit bizarre this time of year and whatnot. But let's go ahead. Let's start with softball for the talk around the corner. And let's go ahead and go down to 1A. And in our ANEC area coverage, we were focusing on sectionals 51, 52, and 55. We begin with sectional 55, hosted by North Miami. We felt like coming in, maybe North Miami would be seen as the favorites, and early on they coasted to the sectional championship game with wins over Tri-Central 5-2 and Cowan 15-1. But in the end, it was the Southwood Knights coming away with a sectional championship, their second straight sectional title, and the second ever for the Southwood Knights. They defeated Westdale in a tight contest in the opening round of sectional play, 3-2. That was seen as a coin toss matchup at that time. And then they dominate their rivals, Wabash County rivals in Northfield, 14-3. And then in the championship game against North Miami, 5-4 winners for Southwood in walk-off fashion, as the Southwood Knights avoided the North Miami rally, and Southwood took advantage of 5 North Miami errors to win their second consecutive sectional championship. They're going to be taking on Cambridge City Lincoln in regional play on Tuesday. Southwood will be the host of that said regional. We take a look at sectional 52, hosted by the Fremont Eagles. Just 3 teams in that sectional because Canterbury doesn't have a softball team. Blackhawk Christian doesn't have a softball team. And Bethany Christian did not field softball this year. So just 3 teams this time around. Fremont played 2 games and outscored Hamilton and Lakewood Park by a combined score of 30-1 as the Fremont Eagles win their 3rd consecutive sectional championship. They are going to be traveling to the sectional 51 champions, and that would be the South Central Union Mills Satellites, the host of sectional 51, who, after winning a close game against Culver in the opening round of sectional play 3-2, they shut out North Judson 9-0 in the semifinals, and then defeated a solid Argus program in the championship game by the score of 4-1. As the Satellites continue their strong season, they have 19 wins on the season. Fremont coming in at 13-11. Southwood, I believe, has 19 wins, 19-10 coming into regionals. But Fremont is going to be going to South Central Union Mills. That's Northwest Indiana. That's in the Central Time Zone. Just beware of that for those that are making the trip down to South Central Union Mills, Indiana. Please beware of that. And then let's go ahead and shift over to Class 2A. We take a look at Sectional 40, hosted by Blackford. And unfortunately for the host, Blackford Bruins, they came up just short of pulling up a major upset against the Alexandria Tigers. They were heavy favorites coming into the sectional. Blackford dominated Wapahani after getting the bye in that sectional. Meanwhile, Alexandria, who also had the bye, they beat Eastbrook 5-1. And then the championship game, Blackford jumped up to a 2-0 lead against Alexandria in the second inning, and then Alexandria kind of slowly climbed their way back despite only recording 7 hits. And Blackford, unfortunately, only had 3 hits in that game, but the most important moment of the game was Alexandria getting that win 3-2 as the Tigers win their first sectional championship in 8 years for the Tigers. And then sectional 38 hosted by the Oak Hill Golden Eagles. This sectional was won by the Rochester Zebras in relatively dominant fashion. They had a bye in this sectional. They defeated Oak Hill 7-3. They played Manchester, who edged off Wabash in the first round 6-4, and then defeated Eastern Greentown 9-6 before playing Rochester in the championship game, where Rochester never felt a sweat one bit in this one, as Rochester scored 16 runs in that game. They recorded 11 hits and beat the Squires 16-1 as the Rochester Zebras continue their dominance in softball. And the Zebras, they are going to be taking on the Rossville Hornets, the sectional champions, from 37. And Rossville, much like Rochester, having strong seasons. I think Rochester comes in at 21-4, Rossville 22-5. Rossville will be the host of that regional contest. Should be a good matchup down in, I believe it's Tippecanoe County. I believe that's the county that where the West Lafayette schools are at. Sectional 36, hosted by South Adams. We knew this sectional was going to be a pretty interesting one to keep an eye on. We knew this may come down to South Adams, and as you might expect, it did come down to those 2 teams, as the Woodland Warriors battled back to tie it up at 4 to force extra innings. And then in extra innings, in the bottom of the 8th inning, in a back-and-forth contest, South Adams, one swing at the bat, decided the sectional 36 championship as Shelby Weedle, the junior, belted a walk-off 2-run home run as the Starfires repeat as sectional champions after repeating as ACAC champions. They once again break the hearts of Woodland fans, and the Starfires are going to make the trip up to Noble County in Albion, Indiana. They'll take on the Central Noble Cougars, the winners from sectional 35, as they upset the Eastside Blazers. I guess you can call it an upset if you would, as Central won their first sectional since 2012 after coming up just short in the regular season play against Eastside. They fell to Busco, which, had they beat Busco, would have shared the conference with Eastside. Unfortunately, that Busco loss proved to be futile as Eastside was able to still win the conference outright by 1 game. Central Noble, they dominated Westview in the first round sectionals 8-1. And then in the semifinal round, they avenged their regular season loss with a 7-4 win against their Battle of Baseline rivals, Cherubusco. And then in the championship game against Eastside, a team that defeated Prairie Heights 7-1 in the semifinals after getting the bye in their half of the bracket. Central Noble, led by a stellar pitching performance from the junior talent Grace Swank. Central Noble shuts out the Eastside Blazers 3-0. And for the first time in 13 years, the Central Noble Cougars are sectional champions. They also they also surpass, I should say, for the most wins in the history of Central Noble softball. I believe that came around about 6 years ago was the last time that Central Noble had 22 wins in a season. They matched it in the semifinals against Busco. They broke that record against Eastside. So now Central Noble with a school record of 23 wins and only 5 losses. They will have an opportunity to try to win their first ever regional championship in softball. They'll have to take on the South Adams Starfires on Tuesday, a team that did win a regional last year, defeating the Eastside Blazers, but that was down in Bern last year. Now Central Noble is going to have home field advantage for this one at the friendly confines of Cougar Field. As Central Noble looks to win their first ever regional championship, should be a very good matchup between 2 excellent pitchers, Addie Baker of South Adams, Grace Swink of Central Noble. Should be a lot of good defensive plays. Should be a fun matchup in Albion. In sectional 34, hosted by Bremen, that sectional was won by Knott's in a 4-2 victory for the Redskins over Jimtown. Jimtown had a bye in their half of the bracket. They defeated Winnemats 7-1, but Knott's prevailed in the sectional championship game after defeating Bremen 10-0 in the semifinal round. Knott's winning this one 4-2, holding Jimtown to just 4 hits. So Jimtown ends their season as sectional runner-ups. And we'll go ahead and move up to Class 3A. We take a look at the sectional 24, hosted by Delta. Jay County was seen as one of the favorites in that sectional, despite after a great start, I should say, from the opening round against Delta, 11-0. They were shut out by Hamilton Heights in the semifinal round, 3-0, as Yorktown would go on to win this sectional. The powerhouse Yorktown Tigers, 14-3 winners over Hamilton Heights, as Yorktown continues their dominance in softball, and they are once again back in regionals this season. We now shift over to sectional 22, hosted by Norwell, and Norwell won this section. They made it all the way to semi-state last season. This time around, they don't even win a game in sectionals. They fell to Belmont in the opening round of sectionals 9-5, and then the Braves pull up a pretty big upset against Heritage in the semifinal round, and it's 3-3 tied. They were able to pull ahead for good and winning this one 6-3. Unfortunately for the Belmont Braves, they ran into a red-hot Mississauga team in the sectional championship game. The Indians now sitting at 20-4 on the season. They scored 5 runs in the 8th inning to prevail to lead Mississauga, an 8-3 8-inning win over the Belmont Braves, with Ole Miss recording 19 hits in that contest. And the Indians win their first softball sectional since 2011. They are going to be going to Fort Wayne on Tuesday. They'll take on the sectional winner from 21, and that is Bishop Dwayner. As the Bishop Dwayner Saints, they upset Leo in the opening round of sectionals in a 2-1 walk-off win. And then they dominated Angola in the semifinals 14-2, and then won the sectional championship game over East Noble 9-3. East Noble had 1-0 wins against DeKalb and Garrett in the first 2 rounds. Unfortunately for East Noble, the pitching Knights just could not solve this red-hot Saints offense, and Bishop Dwayner is back in regionals. They'll host the Mississauga Indians in regional play, looking to get back to semi-state for the storied Bishop Dwayner Saints softball team. Sectional 20, hosted by Fairfield, and this sectional was won by Columbia City, their first year in 3A, or back in 3A, I should say. Columbia City wins their first sectional since 2022, where they were able to win a surprisingly close contest in the opening round against Wawasee, 5-4, dominate the host Fairfield Falcons in the second round, 10-0, and then the championship game against Tippy Valley, who destroyed Northwood in the semifinals, 3-1. Columbia City scored first in the 4th, added a couple more runs in the 6th that proved to be a vital part of Columbia City winning this game by the score 4-2. Once again, the stellar pitching of Columbia City, the clutch plays, whether it's the play of Emma Hiss or Madeline Brady, or I'm blanking somebody right now here. Hang on just a second here. I'm blanking somebody. I should know this. Or Hannah Mander. There we go. Miley Ward was huge for Columbia City in sectional play as the Eagles. They are going to regionals for the first time since 2022. They're going to be making the trip down. Sorry, not down. They're going to be making the trip up north to Walkerton, Indiana. They'll be taking on the sectional winner from, I believe, sectional 19, and that is John Glenn. The Falcons of John Glenn won this sectional in 19 as they defeated St. Joseph of South Bend 8-5. I believe Columbia City had won a regional the last time they made it to regional. So Columbia City looking to bring another regional back to Columbia City. And then lastly, taking a look at Class 4A, only three sectionals, I should say, of interest. Beginning with sectional 6 at Huntington North. We kind of knew this was going to be a sectional. We think Homestead's going to win pretty easily, and that ended up being the case as Homestead outscored Southside and Huntington North by a combined score of 32-6, as the Homestead Spartans are back in regionals after coming up with a couple heartbreakers the past 2 years. They lost to Huntington North in the sectional championship game 2 years ago. They lost to Columbia City in the semifinals last year of sectional 6. This time they are sectional champions for the Homestead Spartans, and this is a dangerous Homestead team as they will be traveling a short drive up north to Huntertown to take on the Carroll Chargers, who once again win yet another sectional championship. I believe that is their 4th consecutive sectional championship. That is the most ever for this Carroll program, as they won a close one against Northup 1-0 in the semifinals of the sectional, and then dominated Snyder 10-0 to repeat as sectional champions. Carroll won the regional last year in a low-scoring contest against Huntington North, and the Chargers looking to win another regional again, trying to get another crack at the 4A state tournaments and trying to make a run to the state finals. But before they can do that, they'll have to take care of Homestead first, their good old arch nemesis. And then sectional 4, hosted by Goshen. This sectional was won by the Elkhart Lions for the very first time, as the Lions defeated the Warsaw Tigers 5-0 after dominating the first 2 rounds 13-5 over Concord and 11-2 over Northridge. Warsaw had a comeback win against Goshen 8-7. I believe Warsaw scored 3 in the bottom of the 7th to complete the comeback, but unfortunately for Warsaw, they came up just short as the Elkhart Lions win their first ever sectional championship. They're going to be traveling to Mishawaka to take on their NIC foe, Penn, in regional play, as Elkhart looks to get their first ever softball regional championship. And so that does it for softball. Taking a look at baseball. Remember, with baseball, I'm pretty sure majority of these sectionals, if not all these sectionals, have not been completed yet. I believe the rest of the games are played tomorrow are for the sectional championship. So let's go ahead and take a look at 4A first and work our way down. Sectional 4, hosted by Northridge. The championship game looks like this. Northridge against Goshen tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Northridge had the bye in the sectional, and they defeated Elkhart 2-1, and which all the runs came the first inning. As for Goshen, they had the bye as well and shut out the Concord Minutemen 5-0. Goshen comes in at 10-13. Northridge is 16-12. Northridge on paper is seen as a slight favorite in the sectional. And this was a sectional coming in. Actually, the Warsaw was seen as the pretty prohibitive favorites, at least statistically, although they did have some trouble with Concord in regular season play. The Minutemen did pull off a pretty big upset in this sectional. 3-2 winner over the Warsaw Tigers, the back-to-back NLC champions. And that has led to this opportunity for Northridge and Goshen to potentially win this sectional. Sectional 5, hosted by Carroll, looks like this. You have Snyder against Northup for the sectional title at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Snyder against Northup. Northup destroyed Northside 39-1. Snyder, a much more competitive game, a 6-3 winner over the Carroll Chargers, a team that has dominated the sectional for many years. But Snyder, 22-6 on the season, SAC champions. Carroll, down season by their standards, 14-14. Snyder was able to take advantage of some terrible mistakes and came up with some big opportunities and some clutch plays, including a 4-run first inning that really set the tempo for the remainder of that game. And so we'll see who comes out on top between Snyder and Northup tomorrow, which would be June the 2nd. Northup 4-23, Snyder 22-6. The Panthers seen as favorites to win the sectional. Sectional 6 hosted by Homestead looks like this. Southside against Homestead tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Archers of Southside are 9-16. Homestead, a very strong 22-6 record. Homestead was down 3-2, I think, at the halfway mark of this contest against Huntington North. And Homestead scored 3 in the fourth to take a 5-3 lead. And they never looked back as they beat the Vikings 7-3. Meanwhile, the Archers shut out the Generals in a pitch duel 2-0. Homestead probably the favorites in that one. But again, when you get to the sectional finals, you just never know. Class 3A, Sectional 20, hosted by Northwood. And speaking of Northwood, the Panthers are back in the sectional finals. And just like last year, they're going to be playing West Noble for the sectional championship tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Northwood faced Columbia City in the first round of sectionals in a tightly contested affair. It went to 8 innings in a high-scoring contest. Northwood defeated Columbia City in a comeback victory, 8-6 in 8 innings, and then took care of business against Fairfield, a scrappy young Fairfield team that won 19 games this year. Northwood winning this one 5-2. They scored 3 in that first inning, played a pivotal role in winning that game against the Falcons. Northwood coming in 18-12 to face the West Noble Chargers, who had the bye. So did Tippy Valley. The Chargers defeated the 3-win Vikings 4-2. West Noble sitting 11-15. They'll face the Northwood Panthers at Northwood for the sectional championship in 3A20. 3A Sectional 21 hosted by Garrett looks like this. Leo and Bishop Dwayner will be the sectional championship matchup tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Leo dominated Garrett in the opening round of sectionals 13-3, but then in the semifinals against East Noble, it needed some dramatic comeback victory here. It needed a dramatic moment in this game. They were down in this ball game 7-6, 2 outs, 2 strikes in this game. Luke McDonald walked off 2-run home run as the Leo Lions broke the hearts of East Noble fans 8-7 over the Knights. And so that's why Leo is in this situation to play for a sectional championship. And as for Bishop Dwayner, dominate a very good DeKalb team, 11-1. DeKalb won 19 games this year, although Dwayner coming in 22-8, quite strong of a team as well. And then they faced Angola in the semifinals as the Hornets upset Concordia 3-0. Well, Dwayner took care of business, although a relatively closer game than I think some might expected. Angola did jump out to a 6-0 lead. So Angola did give them a fight in this contest. That should still led 7-4 in the 5th inning, and then Dwayner scored 5 in the 5th to take the lead and never look back as the Saints win that game 12-7. So now you got the Saints and the Lions for the sectional championship at Garrett. And I believe that was a matchup. I believe these two teams met last year in the sectional championship game, but they didn't meet last year in the sectional finals. They at least met in the semifinals. I believe that was a sectional championship game as well. If I was, and someone can quote on me if I didn't get that right. Oh, well. Anyway, Sectional 22 hosted by New Haven looks like this. Belmont and Norwell. The battle on 8 Mile Creek will decide 3A Sectional 22. The Belmont Braves, they shut up Mississauga on the opening round 6-0. And then they upset Heritage, a very strong Heritage team, 16-6 Heritage Patriots squad, as Belmont won this contest 4-0. The Braves got off to a very slow start to the season, but they have been red hot in the months of May and June. They now entered sectional final play at 12-13. They'll face their rivals, the Norwell Knights, which they and New Haven had to bye to the semifinal matchup. Norwell winning a very close ball game against a much improved New Haven team, 2-1. Took some clutch defensive plays and some strong pitching to allow the Norwell Knights, despite only recording 4 hits in this contest, they were able. 7 hits, I should say, in this contest. They held New Haven to 4 hits, but nonetheless, Norwell defeated New Haven 2-1 as Norwell looks to start another streak of sectional championships after they lost after their last streak ended to Mississauga last year. They hope to start a new streak this year, but Belmont is a red-hot Braves team led by Ball Baker. And so Drew Graff and the Norwell Knights looking to bring home a sectional championship for the Knights in Ossian, Indiana. They'll do it. They'll go back to New Haven tomorrow to take on the Belmont Braves. Sectional 24 hosted by Yorktown looks like this. Delta and Hamilton Heights is the sectional championship matchup tomorrow at noon. Delta is on a shutout streak right now. They shut out Connorsville 7-0, and then they shut out Jay County 10-0. Jay County had a 10-2 win against Newcastle in the opening round. Unfortunately, they ran into a red-hot Delta team in the semifinal matchup as the Delta Eagles coming in at 20-9. They'll face 10-18 Hamilton Heights, who put off a pretty big upset, I would say, against Yorktown, 4-3. Although this is a down year for Yorktown, or was a down year for Yorktown. Hamilton Heights, the big underdogs against Delta tomorrow and Sectional 24. Class 2A, Sectional 34, hosted by Jimtown. It's going to be the Bremen Lions and the Jimtown Jimmies, a rivalry matchup for the sectional championship in 34 at Jimtown in Elkhart, Indiana. Bremen defeated Winnemac in the semifinal matchup 4-2. As for Jimtown, much like Delta, they are on a shutout streak of their own as they shut out LaVille 10-0 and then Knox 7-0. And so the matchup it sets up a very enticing matchup tomorrow featuring the Bremen Lions, the 18-9 Bremen Lions, and the 21-7 Jimtown Jimmies at 5:30 p.m. in Jimtown. Sectional 35, hosted by Central Noble in the friendly confines of Cougar Field. It's going to be a matchup featuring the Lakeland Lakers and the Westview Warriors. The LaGrange County Civil War, as I always say. We mentioned Lakeland and Westview. The Lakers needed a strong pitching performance in the opening round against Eastside in a 2-1 nail-biter against a very strong Eastside program, and then they shut out Prairie Heights in the semifinal matchup 12-0. So that is where things stand for the 25-4 Lakers, who have the most wins in the history of Lakeland baseball. And they'll face Westview, where Westview and Busco had the bye into the semifinals, and Westview winning this one 15-5 over Busco. It's been an up and down season for Westview, 13-11 the season of the Warriors, but they only lost to Lakeland 7-5 in the regular season. So this is a very dangerous Westview team that Lakeland will be facing tomorrow at 6 p.m., going back to Albion in Central Noble to wrap up sectional play in 35. Sectional 36, hosted by Adams Central. It's going to be an ACAC matchup for the sectional championship. Adams Central and Bluffton. These are the two teams that finished first and second, respectively, with Bluffton winning the ACAC championship via tiebreaker. Adams Central has dominated so far in the sectional run, defeating Woodland 10-2 and Whitco 17-7. These are two very solid programs that Adams Central took care of business in sectional play, but this is a tall task here for Adams Central against the Bluffton Tigers, who I would say pulled off a pretty decent upset here against the Bishop Lures Knights. I know Bishop Lures 19-11, not the most impressive record on paper, but Lures is usually battle tested, and when you face an SAC program to the caliber of Bishop Lures, you know you're in for a ball game. And Bluffton played that fourth inning for Bluffton really was a huge part of the Bluffton Tigers pulling off this win against Lures. 4 runs in the fourth inning. They needed all 4 of those runs to pull off the win against Lures, as the Tigers held Lures to just a single hit in this contest. And the pitching for Bluffton has been clutch as of late. And I believe it was Griffin Morgan who was pitching for the Bluffton Tigers in that contest, and he's been their most consistent pitcher all season long. Other than Dawson Leaves having a nice year as a freshman, the pitching of Bluffton played a huge role in the success of the Tigers' 16-9 season and an ACAC championship. Now Bluffton, who had blown a lead in the sectional finals last year against Eastbrook and lost a heartbreaker to the Eastbrook Panthers in the sectional championship game, now Bluffton has an opportunity to win a sectional championship and continue their season to regionals. But standing their way is Adams Central for a sectional championship. And let's see here. Taking a look at sectional 38, hosted by Oak Hill. The matchup looks like this. Eastern Greentown, a powerful Comets program from the Howard County area of the woods. 26-5 of the season. They'll take on Oak Hill, who is 18-9 on the season. Eastern defeated Wabash 6-2 in the opening round. And then they face Manchester, a team that had upset the 9th-ranked team in 2A, Rochester, 3-2. Rochester team that made it to the Final Four, I believe, last season in Class 2A, if I recall. Eastern dominated Manchester in the semifinals 20-6. So they'll be taking on Oak Hill, which they and Lewis Cass had to buy the semifinal matchup. In the high-scoring shootout, Oak Hill hanging on for a 15-10 victory over the Kings of Lewis Cass. Despite a furious rally from Lewis Cass, Oak Hill scored 10 runs in the third, which played a massive role in the victory over Lewis Cass, a team that had 12 hits despite doubling Oak Hill in hits. They also committed 3 errors, to which Oak Hill took advantage of those mistakes. So we'll see which team can play better baseball. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Oak Hill in Converse, Indiana, will be the Eastern Comets or the Oak Hill Golden Eagles. Sectional 40, hosted by Madison Grant, looks like this. It's Eastbrook against Wapahani. Eastbrook won a sectional championship last year, but they were in 36, if I recall. This season, they're now in sectional 40, and they had a nice couple rounds so far, defeating Muncie Birds 5-2, and then defeated the hosts, the Madison Grant Argels, 4-3 in walk-off fashion, despite trailing 3-0 to start of this game. So now Eastbrook, who comes into the championship game at 17-11, they'll face the Wapahani Warriors. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, the 17-8 Wapahani Warriors, Wapahani Raiders. I apologize. I completely butchered that. The Wapahani Raiders defeated Blackford in the semifinal matchup 10-0. And so Wapahani Eastbrook will battle it out tomorrow at 6 o'clock at Madison Grant to decide the winner of 2A Sectional 40. And then lastly, 1A Sectional 51 at South Central Union Mills. It looks like this. Triton and Elkhart Christian. The Triton Trojans, they had a 4-2 winner in the opening round against North Judson. The 19-9 Trojans also came in and defeat the South Central Satellites 2-1 in a pitcher's duel. They'll take on Elkhart Christian Academy, who held on for a walk-off win against, not a walk-off win, but it was a close win nonetheless against Argos 3-2, and then defeated Culver in the semifinal matchup 10-6, despite Culver scoring 6 runs in the fourth. ECA held on for a 4-1 victory. So the matchup in 51 looks like this. 19-9 Triton against 8-17 Elkhart Christian Academy. Sectional 52, hosted by Fremont, looks like this. This time it is a 6-team sectional. And this is going to be a matchup between the Canterbury Cavaliers and the Fremont Eagles. Canterbury defeated Lakewood Park in the semifinal matchup 6-3, as the 11-8 Cavaliers will face the Fremont Eagles. Fremont coming in at 16-13, a very battle-tested Fremont team that won the NECC tournament for the first time since 2010. They defeated Blackhawk Christian in the semifinal matchup, a very impressive win nonetheless against a solid Blackhawk team, 9-2 for the Fremont Eagles, as despite the fact that, Blackhawk did get some hits and had opportunities to win this game, unfortunately for the Braves, they committed 3 errors in that game, and when you face a team as hot as Fremont, you can't commit errors. And so now Fremont has a chance to repeat as sectional champions. They made it all the way to semi-state last year for the first time in over 20 years. Now Fremont has an opportunity under a new head coach to head back to regionals and maybe, just maybe, trying to make a run back to semi-state. But to do that, they got to face the Canterbury Cavaliers first tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Roger Prost Field in Fremont. And lastly, Sectional 55, hosted by Westell, and it looks like this. Cowan against Northfield is a matchup tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. The Blackhawks of Cowan have had a dominant start in sectional play. They defeated Westell 9-4 in that contest, and they shut out a much improved Southern Wells team 10-0. Southern Wells had defeated Tri-Central in the opening round 6-2. And, well, unfortunately, Southern Wells, they committed 2 errors. They only had 2 hits in that game. And, well, Cowan had 8 hits and scored 7 in the second inning to allow Cowan to pick up the win 10-0. They'll face the Northfield Norsemen, a team that dominated Southwood in the opening round 6-1, and then defeated Daleville in the semifinal matchup 10-3. More of an impressive win there for Northfield against Daleville. The 13-16 Norsemen looking to pull off a sectional championship win, but they'll have to face a red-hot 11-11 Cowan squad for the sectional championship down in Gaston, Indiana in Westell. And that's how things look for the ANEC area sectionals in baseball and softball. And lastly, before I get to my interview with the head track and field coach of New Haven, Larry Stemmler, let's take a look at track and field regionals. So 2 regionals took place last week. We'll start with the boys, and then we will go to the girls section. Let's start off with the Goshen regional, as this was a very competitive regional. It came down to the last few events of this matchup in this regional field, I should say, and Warsaw picking up the regional championship with 74 points. Penn placed second with 61. Concord in third with 53. Northridge in fourth with 47 points. Northwood in fifth with 42 points. And then Westview, led by yet another strong performance from the junior Notre Dame commit, Noah Bontrader. Westview scored 41 points in that one. And then the regional at Carroll witnessed New Haven dominating this regional by 27 points, as New Haven won their very first boys track regional championship as a team with 74 points. Just a strong all-around team effort in this very tough regional at Carroll. Yorktown placed second with 47. Carroll in third with 46. Homestead in fourth with 45 points. Leo and Wabash tied for fifth with 33 points. And then not too far behind them, Delton seventh with 29.5. Oak Hill in eighth with 27 points. And so the state finals will take place on Friday, June 6th at North Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the track stadium will open its gates at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, and then Saturday, the gates for the girls, and this is the girls' state finals meet. That will be at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. So the events will begin at 3 p.m. for the boys on Friday, June the 6th for pole vault, long jump, and discus. You can find more information on the IHSAAA website. They'll have previews for this. They'll show you the performance list. They'll show who's going to be participating in what events. They'll show you the teams that are participating in the state finals. They'll show what the order events are going to be shown for the state finals and how it's going to be conducted for the state finals. And then let's go ahead and take a look at girls track and field real quick as we wrap up the talk around the corner. And we begin with the regional at Warsaw for girls track regionals. As like the boys, the Warsaw girls, they won their regional as well. An amazing season for the Warsaw Tigers. Warsaw finishing first with 81 points, Penn in second with 69, and then it goes down from there with South Bend Adams in third with 34. Whitco also with 34 points, Elkhart in fifth with 31 points, and then Northridge in sixth with 27 points. And then the Carroll regional, much like the boys, Carroll also hosted the girls regional, and this time it's the Carroll Chargers girls team winning the regional, dominating in this regional field with 110.5 points. And it was a dominant performance from Carroll amongst several athletes for Carroll. Northup taking a solid second place finish with 62 points. Concordia in third with 16.5 points. Homestead in fourth with 53 points. Columbia City in fifth with 42. And Bishop Dwayne sixth with 40 points. And so it sets up the state finals on June 7th, Saturday at North Central High School. As I mentioned earlier, the gates for the girls' state finals will open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 Central. And the order of events go like this. It will begin at 3 p.m. with pole vault, long jump, and discus. High jump shot put at 3:30 p.m. 3,200 meter relays at 4:15. 100 meter dash trials at 5 p.m. 100 meter high hurdle trials at 5:50 p.m. And the list goes on from there. More information regarding performance lists, who's going to be participating in these events, the order of events, how things are going to be conducted for the state finals. Once again, you can find all this information on the IHSAAA website. And so that is the talk around the corner. And so we are near the end of the year. As sooner than later, I will unveil the remaining finalists for the ANEC Athletes of the Year for male and female. I mentioned the first couple names. I look forward to mentioning a few others tonight, which is Sunday at the time of this recording, and Monday. And then we'll reveal the remaining finalists from there as we recap the 2024-25 year. And once we get things finished, I look to get back and resume the girls basketball and boys basketball off-season series, as I'm a little behind on that right now. And then hopefully with some time in between, I hope to do some lecture videos to get you caught up with our area conferences, area schools. Maybe, just maybe I could do a history of the Indiana Pacers, considering it's in that type of year for the Pacers. So anyway, enough jabbering from me. Let's get to my interview with Larry Stemmler of New Haven. So next time I say so long. Joining me this evening is the head track and field coach of the New Haven Bulldogs, Larry Stemmler. And Coach, good evening on the 1st of June, 2025. How are things going for you on this Sunday evening as you prepare for the state finals?
Going pretty well. Just getting caught up. Spent the last couple hours getting caught up on all of our statistics that I kind of fell behind over the last couple of weeks with hosting sectionals and then getting ready for regionals, and now looking forward to the state meet this Friday.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that later on, but I first want to talk about your background with this program here in New Haven. You've been a teacher at East Allen County Schools for nearly 25 years now and whatnot. So you have a lot of experience with this area, and obviously a lot of experience coaching with cross country and track and field. For the viewers that don't know you, talk about your experience with this sport and what got you to coaching, and how much you have learned and progressed over your time coaching in this sport.
So an interesting story, because I just got congratulations from one of my former coaches and was actually an assistant coach for me, Kent Gagline. I actually was a baseball player growing up, and actually back in middle school, even my freshman year of high school, never thought I'd do track or cross country. I went out for baseball, got cut by Dave Bischoff, our longtime baseball coach, and I was kind of heartbroken because I thought, that's what I was good at. And Kent Gagline was a teacher and assistant coach. Talked to my mom and told her, hey, why didn't he should come out for track? I had done it one time in 7th grade just because my friends had done it and didn't really like it. And so I thought, well, why not? I need to do something. And I didn't really fall in love with it my freshman year, but my sophomore year I did. And after 3 years of competing in high school cross country, and then or 2 years high school cross country and 3 years of track, I wanted to continue in coaching and also become a teacher. And so that's what I did. My freshman year of college, I started middle school helping as assistant coach there, and then slowly worked my way up and became the head girls coach in 1999. And then 6 years ago became the boys head track coach also, and also the head boys and girls cross country coach. So it's hard to believe it's been 32 years of coaching and 25 years of teaching.
Yeah, a lot of experience that's helped these kids pay throughout their high school careers and whatnot. Coach, you've coached some very talented kids over the course of your time coaching, especially here in New Haven, including, just talking about the boys track and field team with Brian Garcia, multi-sport athlete, great cross-country career in New Haven, having a great senior year for track and field in New Haven. Kevion Mitchell, amazing year for him, what he does in the hurdles and whatnot. An incredible all-around athlete there. Aaron Hoffer, we know what he's done on the football field. John Buzzer, shot put and discus. And then even the past years, you've had some very talented kids that eventually end up having great careers at the collegiate level and whatnot. When you talk about this group here in New Haven this year, what are some characteristics and things that stand out about this group of kids?
This group from day one this year has really worked hard. Now, everyone but John that you mentioned last year competed at the state meet. Those three guys ran on the relays, and Kevion and Aaron had made as individuals in the hurdles. And I think that experience got them fired up for this year. We told them from day one, this team could be special, and they bought into it. They've worked hard all the way from the get-go, and it's paid off. We had some struggles early on in our indoor season. Aaron got hurt a little bit. That's why he didn't end up running the 110-meter hurdles this year. And I still remember when he got hurt and thought, okay, he's not going to be able to run the 110. That's going to hurt us in the long run. And in fact, it became a blessing because we moved him into the 800 or 4x8 and ran the 800 until he was ready to run the 300 hurdles again. And he has even admitted that those 800 training and races have helped him improve there. But in general, all those guys that you mentioned, every day they come to practice, they're willing to work. They listen to the coaches, they buy into my assistants. I get the accolades being the head coach, but I'll tell you, I'm blessed. I've got a great group of assistant coaches Mark Kuhn with the distance, BJ Stevens, Contrell Ash in the hurdles, the 100, Desmond Davis helping with the long jump. Miranda Sparkman was a athlete of mine that went on to college and now coaches the throws. They make my job easy because they train them, but they've been there to support me and I'm there to support them. And the kids, like I said, bought into it. And we've seen it now here ever since we got back from spring break, that they've just been, in the big meets have come out and competed every single night.
Yeah. And you're seeing a lot of progress, and that's the thing about track and field. You're seeing progression over the course of the year, indoor season, where things didn't quite work out for you, but still made progress over time. And talking about highlighting a few things along the way. The first ever EACS Invitational. That's one highlight you can put on the season. Winning that first meet for the boys at New Haven against Leo and Heritage and whatnot, and getting that championship was nice there. And then also talking about the Northeast State meet just a few weeks ago when winning the first conference championship since 1985. That's a lot of great teams that came through back in the 80s. You've had some nice talented kids coming through New Haven even recently, but didn't quite get over the hump in past years. But this year, it just was the right year with this group of kids and whatnot. And then obviously before we get to regionals, sectional, winning your second ever sectional championship in a sectional that's mostly been dominated by Homestead over the years and whatnot. Coach, just kind of talk about, what's the feeling like being able to accomplish those things, especially with the conference, a very difficult Northeast State conference, and then be able to win that sectional against the most talented kids in the city.
Yeah, so going back to the conference last year, we knew we had a chance to possibly win it last year. We missed it by 9.5 points. Going into that meet, we had, ran well again, just like this group had done. And we just didn't get the breaks that we needed at conference. Columbia City performed great and got some of the breaks to benefit their way. And so I think that was a taste in a lot of our seniors' mind, like, hey, you know what, we want to do something that hasn't been done since the 1980s. And that's what happened. I mean, it wasn't just that group of guys, too. I mean, they did their job. They got the bulk of the points we needed, but we had two guys, Kevin Nichols and Terrence Jackson, who were not seeded to make it into the finals of the 100 dash. They come out and run their lifetime best, get into the final score of points. Jaleel Turner and Keith White both make it into the 200. Keith ends up tweaking his hamstring, and so he doesn't run as well as he wanted in the 200, but still got the points for us. Then we had to pull him out of the 4x4. He'd ran the 4x4 for us the week before and kind of became that fourth guy. And we put Jaleel Turner back in, and all season coming down the 4x4, we've always had the lead going into the last leg. And, of course, Nolan Miller of Leo, no lead's always safe with him. And Jaleel got out, and I just remember my wife and I, we were timing the meet that day, and we couldn't see them come around the corner because the Columbia City let all the athletes on the field, which was neat because it allowed them to cheer on their teammates. And my wife gets up and stands. She goes, "Hey, I think Jaleel's still in the lead." I said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Is Nolan coming?" And he's like, "No, he's not. He's not coming. He's going to hold on." And I just remember him passing and then winning that 4x4. It was kind of the nice seal for us. We had, a freshman, Ryan Bennett, who helped us in the pole vault along with Luke Beckman. And then just almost every event we had someone step up that night. So it really is a team effort. I think that's what makes this team different than last year. We've got our top athletes, but we have some younger ones that stepped in. Evan Reeder, a freshman in the 1600 place when he wasn't supposed to. Tristan Williams, a sophomore, hates the 3200 meter run. But we told him, hey, you can score points for us. He gets, I think it was 7th or 6th, and gets us some extra points. And so there's guys that are willing to sometimes run events that they don't like, but are willing to do what's necessary for the team. And that's what I really love about this group, is that they do compete for each other.
This is Larry Stemmler, the head track and field coach of New Haven High School, as his team prepares for the state finals. Coach, I want to go to regionals, recapping the regional hosted by Carroll. Again, another great site there at Carroll and whatnot, always a tough regional and whatnot. You won that regional by just under 30 points, if I recall, in that regional, winning your first ever regional championship for the New Haven boys track and field team. You had Aaron Jackson, 14th in the 400. Brian Garcia, as you mentioned, finishing first in the 1600, the 3200. Kevion Mitchell, second place in 110 hurdles. And fifth in 300 hurdles, Aaron Hoffer won the regional in the 300 hurdles. You did very well in the relay meets, and then John Buzzer second place in shot put and discus and whatnot. So, Coach, first ever regional championship in New Haven history. So you're going to have some chance to earn some team points in the state finals. But more importantly, you're going to have your kids represent New Haven and East Allen County schools in the state finals on Friday, June 6th at North Central High School in Indianapolis. It's a special time. I know you've been down in the state finals many times, but Coach, I thoughts from you, but I think this one might feel just a little extra special compared to past years.
Yeah. After, winning sectionals, we were kind of setting ourselves up to see, okay, where could we be at regionals, and talking to assistant coaches, we all felt, okay, we've got the right athletes in the right spot. And I just told them, I said, our goal right now is we're not focusing on winning regionals. Our goal is to see how many athletes can we get to the state meet. Last year we took our 4x4 relay, and we took our 2 hurdlers. And I said, that was the most in a while. I said, let's see what we can do. I mean, we knew John Buzzer had a chance to make it in both shot and discus. He PRs in both, hits the automatic qualifying in the trials in the discus to know that he's going. And then he was leading the shot put until Norwell's thrower has 2 great throws, throws his 2 lifetime best to move ahead of him. But I know John was excited about now going. He missed it last year by 1 spot and missed the callback, I think it was by a couple inches. So that was a good, for him. Brian Garcia, we finally, he'd been at conference and at sectionals, made the ultimate sacrifice. We told him, you're going to have a hard time winning these events because we're going to put you in 4 distance events, the 4 longest events you can be in. And then we said, regionals, what we're going to do is we're going to let you pick the 2 races you want to compete in. And he went out, and being fresh now for the first time in probably a month racing, was able to, run ahead and get a championship in both the 1600, and he broke our school record in the 3200 in the process. And we still think he can go faster. He just, ran the smart race there. Kevion breaks his school record in the 110 meter hurdles to get back to state in the 110s. If he runs a great race, he's not going to long jump now. He has a chance to maybe sneak into the medal round there. Our best one right now, seated wise, is Aaron. He's 4th right now in the 300 hurdles. He breaks his school record. First time going under 39 seconds for that. So, yeah, we're definitely thinking our 4x4 is like less than a second from breaking our school record. So even if they might not be able to medal, they've got some motivation for that, process too. But, yeah, to win the regionals, I didn't think we were going to win by that much. I thought Yorktown, coming in with how many people they got through their sectional, knowing what Carroll did. And even though we beat Homestead the week before by 20 points. They got some bad luck. Their 4x1 doesn't get the first exchange done. Their top pole vaulter doesn't go no heights. So that made it look like we won by a lot more than we really would have if they were in it. But I think that also got our kids motivated too. Once they realized they beat Homestead for the second time, hey, we have a shot to do this. And the whole time, I had some coaches talking to me like, hey, you're going to win this. I said, nope, I'm not. We're not talking about winning this until, we know for sure. And we knew by the 4x4, there was no way anybody could catch us. And that was nice from that. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what these guys can do down at state. Again, they didn't run as great or perform as great at sectionals, but that was the weather, and they were doing more events. Now that we've allowed them to rest a little bit, and focus on some events. Yeah, I'm hoping that we will represent not only New Haven well, but East Allen and the East or Northeast Indiana too down at the state meet.
Yeah, that is for sure. This is the last week of the track and field season, and closing in the end of the school year. Been a great year for New Haven athletics as a whole and whatnot. So, Coach, my last question to you is this. No matter what happens in the state finals and whatnot, where does this season rank upon your career and whatnot? And how much are you going to remember these kids and remember this season, even years down the road?
Well, when we won our first sectional 5 years ago, I was sitting there thinking, man, this might be the best experience we ever had, the best team we ever had. I thought we're never going to, go over this. We're never going to improve upon this. And these guys, I told them early in the season they could write their legacy. And then after they were handed the trophy at Carroll, I said, you guys have definitely wrote your legacy. You are the best team that we've ever had in the history of our program. And I told them, I was breaking up and I was in tears a little bit and choking up a little bit, and they knew it, but they know I care about all of them. I care about all my athletes who I've coached before and this group too. But I think this group will hold a little bit more special place in my heart because of just their willingness to go out and compete and give it their all. I mean, I can't think of a meet where they have not tried their hardest when it really mattered. And for them, the thing that hurt them too was early season. We lost 2 major invitationals because of bad weather that, they could have even, I think, improved even more. They ended up with 70 wins this year. I haven't checked, but I think that might be the most wins we've had. If it's not, it would be because we missed those 2 meets being canceled, but I definitely going to have the best winning percentage. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Friday just to see how they can finish their career. And I'm hoping a couple of them will get selected for the All-Stars, in a couple weeks from that. But yeah, this is definitely, when I look back here in a few years when I'm probably done coaching and everything and teaching, this will be one I'll remember for the rest of my life.
That is for sure, Coach. Any final words before we let you go?
I just want to thank you for your coverage for all the sports you do, not just only for track and field and all of them throughout this season. Has been fun. Just seeing what you've done and others have done. It's nice to get the coverage because these kids do work hard. This is a sport that doesn't always get the recognition because it's not a glamour sport like you get from baseball or football or basketball on the boys' side. But it's nice to have people like you that are willing to cover all of us. And so I just want to say thank you to that. And thank you to all the people that have reached out and to us and congratulate us because, again, it's so neat to because you have the history of all the major big schools, Northrop and Homestead and Carroll, that have usually dominated. And for us to put our name now on that list it's something that these kids will always remember. And it's just something that, shows that, if you're willing to work hard, it's going to pay off in the long run. That's what I've always preached to my athletes. It's what you put in is what you're going to get out. It might not always work out the best way, but it's 99% of the time, if you put the work in, it's going to definitely help you be successful. And so it's nice for them to get to see that and kind of feel those accolades right now for this season.
It's a good way to put a bow on this segment here, Coach. And good luck to you, Larry Stemmler, and the New Haven Bulldogs boys track and field team as you compete in state finals at North Central High School.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the ANEC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page ANEC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. Also like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for ANEC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner and you will find us there. You can also follow the man himself, Sam Frick, the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, for other additional content. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.